And now, the Alamo Scouts. The Alamo Scouts, officially named the 6th Army Special Reconnaissance Unit, was organized on Ferguson Island, New Guinea on 28 November 1943 by then Lieutenant General Walter Krueger, commanding general of the U.S. 6th Army. General Krueger formed the top secret ad hoc unit to conduct radar and reconnaissance work in the Southwest Pacific. Of the more than 700 candidates selected for training, only 138 were retained as Alamo Scouts and were formed into elite 6 to 7 man teams. In only 18 months in the field, the Alamo Scouts performed 110 known missions behind enemy lines without losing a single man killed, captured, including the liberation of 2 prisoner of war camps. In 1988, the soldiers of the Alamo Scouts were awarded the Special Forces tab in recognition for their service in World War II, including them in the lineage of the current United States Army Special Forces. Major General Chin will now present the induction certificate to Mrs. Jean Kopp Heffron and her husband, Mr. Frank Heffron, on behalf of the Alamo Scouts. Ms. Kopp Heffron is the daughter of the Alamo Scout Lieutenant Hal S. Kopp, and this picture is to the left of the screen right there. Again, please.
My name is Jeannie Howell Kopp Heffron. I'm married to Frank Heffron, and my father was Howell Kopp. He was a captain, and he was commissioned in the reserve in February of 1940. Upon the graduation from the University of Florida, he was in Fort Benning, Florida, August 1st, 1941. He attended the Battery School in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and observed in the... I'm going to ask my husband if he will come over and read this, because I can't even see it.
Okay. He attended the Battery Commander School at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and Aero Observation School at Brooks Field here in San Antonio. He then attended Aerial Gunnery School in Harlingen, Texas, where her mother and my wife at 3 years old joined him and lived with him until he was transferred again. Captain Kopp was sent overseas on January 1944 with the 114th Artillery, 31st Infantry Division of the United States Army. While on temporary assignment, he volunteered and was accepted to join the Alamo Scouts, where he was in training from May 14, 1944 to July 1944. He was in the 3rd class of Alamo Scouts training at Mange Point, Finchshafer area, New Guinea. His diploma dated July 22nd, 1944, reads Superior Rating. Upon graduation, he returned to his unit and was his original unit and was utilized as a reconnaissance Army Scout. Of course, his missions were classified and details of them were unknown to all of us. On one of those missions, we do know that Captain Kopp received the Silver Star and the Bronze Star was awarded to his 6-man detail. In a letter to my wife's mother on the 21st of August, 1944, her father wrote, "You know by this time that I have refused the Air Corps deal. I am an Army Scout and operate behind enemy lines in intelligence and scouting work. I know it is dangerous, but there are lots of lads in the Army on the front lines who also have families and are in dangerous situations. I feel it is my duty to the Army and my country to put my abilities to the best use, and that experience has proven to be that I am a good scout." Do you see what I mean? Scout. That was in his letter. According to one of his last letters, he was back with his unit in Oro Bay, New Guinea, and on September 21st, 1944, he and 16 of his men boarded the USS Seawolf submarine for another mission. There were 4 U.S. submarines off the coast of the Philippines, and the Seawolf was directed to run silent. There was also a Japanese submarine in the area, and aircraft bombers detected a submarine which did not break radio silence and assumed that it was a Japanese sub. The Seawolf was never heard from again and presumed destroyed by friendly fire. It was later acknowledged by the U.S. government that the Seawolf was a tragic accident and took full responsibility. My wife's father and 78 other brave souls gave their lives for their country. Besides her father, there was one other trained Alamo Scout on the Seawolf that same day. Her father was 28 years old when he died, and her sister and her have never had a chance to know him and thank him for his bravery. He is their hero, Captain Howell S. Kopp, and he is an Alamo Scout.
Our next inductee is General Walter Krueger. General Krueger was born in Flatau, West Prussia in 1881, but moved to the United States when he was 8 years old. He served as an enlisted volunteer during the Spanish-American War and remained in the United States Army after that conflict. After service in Cuba, the Mexican border campaign, World War I, and after a series of command and staff positions during the interwar years, Krueger was promoted to the rank of Brigadier General in 1936, Major General in 1939, a Lieutenant General in May of 1941. Serving under General Douglas MacArthur, he commanded the newly activated 6th Army in the island hopping campaign from Australia to the Philippines. During the war, he guided the 6th Army through 21 major engagements. He retired in 1946 after 49 years in the Army and died on 20 August of 1967. Major General Chin will now present the induction certificate to the great-grandson of General Krueger, Mr. Grayson Cortland, who will accept the certificate on behalf of his grandfather.
General Chin and Army South, thank you for honoring my great-grandfather today and inviting me to this ceremony. Our family is deeply touched by this honor. My mother, Joanne Warren Krueger, was one of General Krueger's granddaughters. I remember well him visiting us in our Richmond, Virginia home when I was a boy. We called him Granddad in our house. He was very courtly and unassuming. I never heard him talk about World War II. My mother told me last week just how unassuming he was. In fact, he burned all of his personal letters after World War II and never wrote his memoirs. He did write a history of the Sixth Army in World War II after the war. To him, it was the officers and especially the enlisted men who deserved all the credit for the Sixth Army's success. His love of the enlisted man came naturally. As has been mentioned, he was a private when he joined the Army, and he worked his way all the way up through the ranks to a four-star general. My great-grandfather always wrote me a letter on my birthday and sent me a present. I found one of those letters last week. He wished me a happy birthday and concluded the letter with the comment, "With all my love and earnest hope that you will do well in school and grow up into a strong, courageous man." We went up to the Valley Forge Hospital in the last days of his life. He wanted to talk to each of the children individually, and when it was my turn, he asked me how old I was. And I said, "I'm 15." And he immediately said, "I can't tell you anything." It is almost exactly the 50th anniversary of my great-grandfather's death. Our family went to his Arlington funeral. In the back was Mamie Eisenhower. She sent our family a condolence note, which noted that she and President Eisenhower always treasured that Walter Krueger pinned his first star on her husband after the Louisiana maneuvers. I think my great-grandfather today would be very pleased that the Alamo Scouts are also being honored. They were very close to his heart. Last year, I met Alamo Scout Terry Santos in San Francisco, where he lives. Terry remembers General Krueger frequently visiting the camp of Alamo Scouts. And Terry said one time they were testing a crossbow, and General Krueger asked to try it out. He hit the target, a tree, and the general said, "I can't even see," and I hit the bullseye. There was so much more, obviously, to my great-grandfather than his crossbow prowess, but I like to think of him and the humanity he shows in this story, despite the jungle warfare all around him. On behalf of the Walter Krueger family, thank you again for honoring my great-grandfather.